Hello everyone. Sorry for the very slight delay. Okay. Alright, I'm just getting settled in. I just woke up less than an hour ago from a power nap. So I woke up and I was a little bit hungry. And then I set an alarm for myself to be ready for the stream and everything. So I was running around. And that's why I was delayed, but I've had some food, I've had something to drink, and now I'm ready to do some art. So welcome to the third stream of Art After Dark, Art After Light. I believe that's another branded live stream or YouTube channel. But yeah, Art After Light. Back for its third week. We'll be working on a landscape study today, so we'll have a picture of this. You'll see the reference picture is a little villa or apartment building by the water, and there's a lot of moss, there's a lot of ivy, there's also an adorable dog sleeping by the window, so I figured this would be a fun one to do together. And yeah, so if you're joining me, you can work in any sort of medium that you're comfortable with or would like to experiment with, and we're going to work on that today. Just flipping through the old stuff that we did all together. Alright, so just gonna see if I can give a wide angle view. Okay, all right. Again, let me know if there's any sort of sound check that you want me to do. Anything sounds off, but otherwise I'm going to assume the settings from last week have transferred over and we're good to go. Alrighty. So we're doing a landscape study. It's not really, I don't know. I guess it is a landscape. It includes a building. So I feel like when people think of landscape, they think of large sweeping hills and mountainous views or big ocean views. But I wanted to keep it the color palette a bit controlled. I wanted it to be, include some water, but also some buildings as well. And I figured this would be like a fun one to do together as a casual bit. So that's what we'll start with. Alright, so as you know, I like to sort of set the boundaries of what I'm drawing. It's more psychological, if anything. Helps me get the page broken into, so I'm not so intimidated by how blank it is, and this sort of starts the journey for me. And also, this is one of my favorite pens. This is a pen given to me by my friend. Hey Denise, this is a friend gifted this pen to me and I love it. Alright, so we're gonna draw. Last week we did a lot of like sketching before we sort of rendered in higher detail and did colors. Usually that's the way I go, but it is very time consuming. So this time around I think I'm just gonna like sort of go the way that we did during the time study where we just jumped right into it. So I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going back to my old reliable, the Caran-d'Ache Neocolors that are water soluble, and I'm going to try using that method. So I'm going to sort of like start breaking up sections of the piece. Sort of get my perspective down before I start focusing on color. trying to go for my lightest colors so that it's not dark from the get-go. And I'm choosing yellow just so it has like a warmer tone. I'm not color matching because this is all going to get diluted by water, so the strength of the color doesn't really matter as much to me right now. This also seems like a very, very dirty and like faded brick. Like you can see the sort of warm tones underneath, so I might toss in like a little bit of orange or red in there. And then I'm just setting aside my colors here so that I don't lose them in the stack of crayons I have. This one's gold. I don't want to do a metallic. Alright, this is going to look a little neon-y and funky, but we're just doing the highlights first. How's everyone's week? How's everyone's July going? We're midway through, more than midway through July, which is pretty wild. It's pretty wild that it will be August soon. I just came back from an amazing trip up to Massachusetts with a friend of mine, and we were up there for an event, a wool event. Very educational, so informative. We also got to see a lot of vendors, people who practice using wool and fiber and fleece for different things. And we got to, there's no sheep at the event, but one of the organizers runs a farm, and she invited all of us to visit her farm after the event. So the next day, my friend and I went up to Vermont. We went up to Vermont and we got to meet her sheep. Sheep are like much more endearing than I thought they would be. I don't know. They always kind of gave me the impression that they were sort of aloof. Not these sheep. They were very human-centered, very affectionate. They were so sweet. Yeah, and New York City was going through sort of a crazy heat wave slash major pollution of the skies from just all the really terrible wildfires happening. So we got a little bit of that when we were up north, but it was not as bad as the city was. So we did get to avoid sort of the brunt of it, thankfully. But yeah, but it was a nice vacation, a nice little break. I went up there with like sort of this plan of what I was going to do when I got back, because there's a bunch of stuff I'm doing there's a lot of deadlines happening when I get back, and I kind of had this big idea of like, oh, my timetable when I return, blah blah blah. It's going to be so rigid and strict because I need to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G done. But when I was up there, and we just like really slow, like each day felt very much full of things, like full of day-to-day happenings that didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like, because I had so little things there, like sparingly. We didn't watch any TV. We didn't like go out and watch, like consume any media, I guess. we just kind of like hung out with a lot of people, talked to a lot of people, explored the area. It just felt very slowed down, so every day felt very full. And so after I kind of experienced that, I realized, okay, maybe I need to like really tone down what I need to do when I get back, because it's that sort of an unrealistic standard for me. I felt that it was maybe like a workload that was going to be impossible to reach. So it did take, when I came to that realization and I decided that, it kind of took a lot of mental stress off of me, thankfully. So yeah, I'm moving forward with a much more manageable plan. I mean, it's still a little bit like, oh, like my day-to-day will definitely be swamped, but not in a way where it felt extremely stressful. Alright, so the bright tones have been captured. Let's see. Debating, I feel like the stonework should be where I focus next. Kind of establish the middle section, and then once the middle section has been established, I can go in with like different colors. I'm gonna toss in some of these grays because it looked good. It looks good in the water. But yeah, now I'm starting to mix a little bit so that I can start delineating details. Doesn't look like I have sort of like that dark French gray. Maybe I do. Maybe this one. I think I'm gonna mix it in with some green for the moss. Or is it like lichen? Okay, alright, that's kind of the color I'm looking for. Yeah, so it's been a little bit crazy since I got back. I'm going in with like a much better attitude towards work though. It'll be crazy, it'll be stressful, but at the same time, like, since I made this like decision to work on a more manageable scale, so what I mean by that is that like I had this whole idea for a new project and it would have been really time consuming. It was something that I kind of came up spur of the moment. It's something that I do want to focus on in the future. Like, it's a very big project, personal project that I would like to do. But it would have been very time consuming and not helpful for, well, it would have been rushed, first of all, and I feel like it's a project that needed kind of a longer time frame to work on than just the very sparse amount of time I would have had to force myself to do. I'm also doing a market and I'm also applying for a fellowship, and while it would have been good for the fellowship, it wouldn't have been good if it was rushed. So, and it doesn't serve like the project I had in mind. probably would not have served any purpose at the market I was gonna do. So like, it would have been good for the fellowship if I had more time to do it, and it also serves no purpose for the market. So just kind of had unfortunately no real purpose to it unless I had much more time to work on it. So I've decided not to pursue that project until after my commitments are done for next month. And that took like a huge weight off my back because I was doing a lot of like theorizing on what I needed to do to accomplish it, and it would have been just really time consuming. And I wouldn't even know, because so much of it would have been experimental, that I wouldn't even know how good it would look after I was done. So yeah, that's the experimental stuff I think I won't do under such a harsh time constraint. But I came back with the realization that I wanted to do a bunch of other ideas I had sort of in my backlog for a really long time. So I had a bunch of like projects, ideas, things I actually like researched for months, just hovering in the background quite a bit. So like it was things that I felt would have been more applicable to both of the things I would have been committing to in August. I've already done the research, which was a big factor. Like, I've already done the work and research for it. It was just a matter of executing it. So yeah, I worked on all of that starting Monday when I got back. Yeah, on Monday I went to work. I literally sat down, looked at my schedule. It's still a high expectation I set for myself. I've been working around the idea of a lot of print making projects. I currently specialize in quite a lot of relief printing. And so a lot of my ideas were these relief print ideas that I hadn't gotten around to doing just yet. Okay. I'm just establishing the water now. Oh, I keep wanting to grab that silver because it doesn't look silver at first, but then it tricks you. This one, I'm looking for more like a murky brown than all these silver blue tones. I'll find it. Yeah, but it's Wednesday now. I started on Monday night, all these different, I started yesterday. I started yesterday morning. I sat down, planned all the logistics. I was glued to my iPad all day yesterday and most of today. Because I use Procreate to design a lot of to design things and also work on a lot of the layering of color, or if I needed to do multiple blocks and multiple carvings. And so I took a look at like logistically, first of all, like how many blocks do I actually have at home? that I can use. How much of it would I need to buy? What are the dimensions? Because dimensions means I would need to focus on what kind of paper to get. And if I'm selling these, then I need to buy packaging. So things like bags, things like cardboard tubes, things like those clear envelopes so that your prints are protected, things like that. So it just kind of had to be a lot of logistical planning beforehand to know scope. And then from there I was able to start working on designs, and I think I'm on a good trajectory. Like, I threw a lot of designs together that I'm hoping to finish. Like, I have about 10 designs that I'm hoping to finish, at least start carving all of them next week, which is pretty crazy. 10 is a lot. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do all 10, but I have 10 just in case. And I'm staggering things where as I finish one design, I'm transferring it to the block, and then while that's like setting up, I can focus on doing more designs, and that way that I'll like continuously have something to do, and things are at different levels of completedness, so I don't have anything just like waiting to be done. Oh, let's get some browns in there, especially the part that's sort of this like brickish area. You can kind of see it off to the side. Yeah, so I have a market mid-August application for my the fellowship I'm interested in is also in August, so it's all coming to a head in August. And like once mid-August is over, like once we're past mid-August, I'm gonna just sleep forever. I'm gonna sleep for so long. Alright, we're just throwing color on here. We're just throwing color, seeing how it looks. We're washing everything out and then going over it with crayon maybe later. Crayon and color pencil later. We're just establishing depth first. Yeah, but I'm pretty excited. A lot of the designs, like, I finished 2 designs, and I'm like majorly almost the way done with 2 more. The biggest one I'm working on is an 18 by 24 block, and that's my biggest print if I do work on it, if I do finish it. That'll be the biggest one that I'd be working on, and that's kind of the it's kind of the one that's like intimidating me a lot, but it's also the one that I spent the most time researching for. I don't want to talk about it just yet, just so just so it's like for myself until I'm ready to showcase it. But yeah, I'm very excited. If it does turn out good, if it does turn out great, then I'm pretty excited about it. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out like color-wise. I'm gonna add some white here. Ooh, the paper is starting to show some buckling. That's okay. We're just gonna keep going. We'll go even if the paper tears. That's our working motto. Just keep it moving. You know what? Maybe I'll do this brown. What color is this called? I don't recognize Van Dyke Brown. Yeah, so the projects themselves, very exciting. I'm actually making pretty good headway on almost all of them. Well, actually, that's a lie. On most of them. There's some that I'm already like, okay, I don't think I'll have time to do this. And it's insane too, because I'm signed up for like a ton of work. So I work a part-time job and I still have a large number of hours I'm committing. I also spontaneously, a friend told me about a market that was happening that was hosted by a print lab, and I was like, I have to do it. So now I'm tossing in literally a market during the middle of all this, where all my days are so precious to me right now, and I have to do this other market as well. Alright, let's add some tonal depth to these greens. Let's do this chartreuse looking one. Yeah, so sorry, I'm getting like kind of into this now. Yeah, so I'm actually pretty happy that at least 2 prints are on the block, and I just need to carve them now. Carving is very time consuming, so I'm kind of having to like plan my schedule around like what days can I afford to carve. Like for instance, there are days where I'm not working my part-time. Those are the days I have to focus on sort of the design aspect. And then once the design, because the design requires quite a lot of forethought and brain work, and I need to be at home to see logistically how to pull it off. So a lot of the design work I'm saving up for during the times that I'm at home. And then the carving part, like once I transfer it, I can pretty much carve anywhere, and it's sort of brainless. I don't have to be at home. And on days where my shift is like not in the city, I would have to go and I would have to travel. Then I can travel to my partner's place, I can travel to work with my blocks and my carving tools and just kind of in spare moments carve. So really my most of the days I'm working really hard is to plan out it's mostly to plan out my designs, because if your design is good and you're very happy with how your design looks, then for the most part the next steps is very easy. Like I find it super easy after designing something to do the rest of the steps of carving, the rest of the steps of printing. Because if your design is good, then you just transfer it, it's on the block, you just carve it with knives as accurately to your vision as possible. What I like about printmaking though is that it introduces a layer of randomness between your design going into the block. So that's one change of medium that makes it look different. Because you can, if you plan things digitally, you can zoom in forever and make your details impeccable and your line work impeccable. It will not be impeccable when you do your carving, which is nice. It introduces sort of a human touch element that you can't really account for. And then there's another layer of randomness that happens when you when you print your block onto paper, because then you're changing mediums again. So you have the type of paper be into play, the type of ink, how you rolled the ink also. Like even if you use the same ink, how it rolls onto the block is different each time. So that plays a factor. Humidity and temperature of the room plays a factor. and the method of transferring the ink to your paper. So I do a lot of hand burnishing, which means I use like a flat surface to individually like polish like each section of the paper so that it gets evenly saturated with the ink. It's very time consuming, but if you work on really thin papers and you can see your design appearing on the other side, it's like super exciting and satisfying. So that's one of the reasons why I love hand burnishing. But yeah, it is very time consuming, and I want to work on bigger projects that are larger in size and scope. So hand burnishing all of those won't be will be a bit of a workout for me. So I actually have a cold laminator press, which is like got these rollers. It looks like a press. It looks like a press without, the only difference being like, I mean, it looks like a printing press, but the only difference being that it's a rubber, like a really hard rubber roller rather than a steel roller. So it can't do things like etchings, things where you carve into metal. Dry point you won't be able to do using that, but it's perfectly good for relief. It was a hot tip I saw it on as a hot tip from other printmakers who practice at home and have their own businesses at home rather than work at a print shop. And steel roller printing presses are very expensive, a huge investment, and their upkeep and maintenance is a bit like dubious. They are quite hard to manage machines. So if I ever wanted access to one, I'd probably just go to a professional print shop. But the there are more accessible forms out there. I wanted to invest in a press, ones that have like a roller that you roll the paper and the plate through, because size-wise, I wanted to work with really large papers, and so having a large width roller would accommodate much larger papers, which is cool. People will also see online the clamshell, which is the one where you like, it's like got a hinge and you pull the lever and the lever pushes the top wood part like down onto the bottom wood part. So it's like clamshell. Those have mixed reviews on how effective they are the bigger your artwork goes. Like if you work on really large pieces of paper dimensionally, then using clamshell kind of like doesn't apply pressure evenly as much. So those are better, I think. If I were to get one, those would be much easier to work with on like smaller pieces, like A5 and smaller, I would say. I don't know. I'm still learning all this stuff too, so it's very exciting to me. I want to learn everything about it. I'm like one of those people that like if I find a topic that fascinates me, it's like the urge to learn everything about it is it starts to creep up, and I start to want to like get all the books, read all the things, go on like deep dive Reddit threads from like other professionals sharing information and knowledge. Alright, so we've got kind of like a very rough watercolory look to everything. I'm actually liking how it looks so far. It's very messy. Paper's not loving it. It's super wrinkly on the other side. But it's okay. We'll just endure, and then I want to start filling out the window area with the dog. So let's do that. It's because there's a lot of like white and there's a lot of glass happening there that makes me a little bit wary. Just gonna grab some colors I think will be good. This might sound a bit annoying for all you regular viewers, but anyone who's new, watches this stream, watches this VOD, if you are joining in on the artwork, please. I would love to see it. I have a Discord linked in my description down below. Feel free to join it and share and upload your artwork, either from streams or like any other like projects you're working on. Would love to see what everyone else's art is looking like. Do a little fangirling. But yeah, that's what the Discord is for. And I do have one available should you be interested. The windows sort of outlined, and we've got the dog, the most important part. Leave the best for last. This is Sahara. Oh, do I have 2 Sahara yellows? I must have accidentally bought 2 of those. Alright, this little doggo is gonna blend in a little bit with this balcony that they're on. I'm going to introduce just a tint of this gold. It's not really gold, it's ochre. This dog is very small in comparison to the rest of the to the piece. Doggo in the window, and then I think the important part will be sort of identifying its background. Okay. I'm very excited to get all this. So I was saying earlier, like, the idea that I want to focus now all the work I want to do in these next few weeks, like on projects that I had on the back burner. I'm actually very excited to be doing them now. So maybe that was the push I needed. This vacation like really gave me this push to do the work that's just been sitting and waiting for me to actually devote attention to. And now that I have all these opportunities that they could be that these projects could be used for, I'm very excited to actually have not just like the time and motivation to do them, but the applicability. So a lot of these prints I'm doing right now that I'm designing, I'm hoping to have them at my next market. So I'm very excited for that. And then I also, with these bigger projects that have marketability, they also have a lot of sort of my artistic voice involved, and I want that to be part of this fellowship that I'm applying for. So we'll see if I get in. This is my first time actually voicing out loud. I've only told a few like people I know that I'm applying because I'm very nervous, but if I don't get in, I don't get in. There's always next year. And there's so many talented like people in New York City. It's really hard to tell like scope-wise if my stuff is like something that they'd be interested. So yeah, it's like kind of like the double-edged sword of living in such a multicultural city that's involved heavily in the arts, is that like you have so many opportunities, which is great. Like there's so many things happening and so many avenues you could travel down, but at the same time there's also so many talented people that it's like really hard to know, like, and it will just be very competitive for a bunch of things that you try out for, but that is the nature of it. Okay, I'm getting these like windows sort of washed out, but you can still kind of see the streaks from the crayon. So whatever this turquoise color is, it's quite strong. yeah, so I think I'm just very excited to, because my to-do list for a bunch of these projects have been on my list for like forever. Like I just had like no time to actually work on any of it, but now that I do, I'm kind of excited. You know, it's like things that you just like had spent months thinking about. I'm not a very impulsive maker, like someone who just like thinks of something and does it on the spot. That's like really rare for me. It's really hard for me to do that. And I wish I was more the kind of person that just like, oh, that's an idea, and I just do it. Like I wish I could just do it. I wish I could just act on the things that I'm thinking about. But a lot of the times I'm one of those like people who like plans vacations out months in advance. I plan things out like months in advance. I love researching things, so then I spend a long dedicated period of time like researching as well. So it just like becomes this really long drawn out process, and along the way I sort of lose interest / get a little bit burnt out. So then that project kind of stays on the back burner for quite a while, and I just talk to people about it and I don't do anything, which is frustrating because it's like you get really excited thinking about the potential for your ideas, and then actually executing them is so much like you put so many obstacles in your own way sometimes. And that's why I feel like my brain does. It like comes up with these like great ideas, and then I'm just like, okay, like what if I do this? What if I do that? Like, let me get the library books, let me look at some like patterns, let me look at research, and I'm like, oh, but what if I regret doing it this way and I want to try it this way? Like, how much of an investment and time would that be? Blah, blah, blah. And so I just like, I'm like one of those like, it's like when like Doctor Strange like looks at different parallel timelines. I like look at like all avenues of a project, and I'm like, oh, like what's the best way to do this and this and this? And it's like usually the most time consuming way. Like the method that attracts me most is like the most time consuming. So then I lose sort of interest. I lose interest. And then I feel bad because it's like those were great ideas that I had. And I wish, and I know that like digitally, like if I were to work as a digital artist, it would be easier for me to just do it. Like it would be easier for me to just go ahead and do the work, because it's just on an iPad, and then yeah, it would be much easier that way. But I have never ever been happy with any work I've done digitally, unfortunately. It's something weird and mental about my brain saying this sucks. And I don't think it actually sucks. I think my brain thinks it sucks because I have a strong sense of perfectionism, and with digital art you can make it look perfect. Like you can, I mean perfect in the sense that you can achieve your highest expectations of your work and set an unattainable high standard for yourself. And it's easier to do that digitally than traditionally for me in my brain. My brain does not like doing work digitally because it's just doesn't end up looking the way I want it to. So, or it doesn't look as good as I imagined in my head. So then it then persuades me that it doesn't look good. So when I came to that sort of realization, it opened up my love of traditional arts again, like going back into the traditional. And a major stepping point for that was actually getting into the fiber arts. My part-time job is related to the fiber arts. It was something I was always like tangentially interested in, but never anything that I considered as like a career or for my work portfolio. Like everyone I knew was working digitally, and I still like digital work. It's still something I use, but in terms of like my final outcome, I'm starting to drift very far away from having any final pieces of my portfolio end up being digital. So yeah, I've realized that I love traditional work using like sort of very tactile things. So I love using embroidery to enhance different projects. Embroidery is great. I've been experimenting with other forms of fiber arts as well. I'm trying to incorporate embroidery into quite a lot of like other work as a mixed media thing. And then I recently, it was in 2024 that I first did a block print. My first time ever carving and doing a block print, and it sort of blew my mind how much I loved it. But it took a slow while for me to actually like decide that this was like a medium that I loved, I wanted to embrace wholeheartedly. And it's sort of like the paper form of fiber arts. It's very tactile. And yeah, I took a print intensive and fell in love with it even more. Met a lot of other people who really fell in love with printmaking, and we just sort of like all got along really well. And it just sort of gave me this such a positive outlook on traditional forms of art again. And I really wish, I think I mentioned this at my last stream, I really wish that my younger self could have embraced it more. I wish my younger self was a bit more uninhibited and eager to experiment and do all these different things without fear of it looking right or fear of it not looking as good as other people, fear of it measuring up to other people's standards was so detrimental to my artistic motivations. Okay, we're very slowly making our way through. It's only been 50 minutes, but we have a lot of the background set up here, which looks great. In fact, I would say most of it's been set up, which is good. The little doggo. I want to do his detailing in color pencil, something smaller, nothing too crazy. Let's see. I'll try and get the outline of these windows pretty established. We're just kind of winging it, trying new things. I've already got the schedule for next month's live streams ready to go once we hit August. Pretty wild. I'm already thinking of Halloween. I'm already planning what to do for Halloween. Halloween is my time to shine. It's such a terrible feeling sometimes though, because it's this time of year, August is when it gets really bad. Is I cannot enjoy August because the whole time I'm thinking about all the things I want to do when Halloween gets here. So, and then I set all this burden on myself to enjoy October, and then October just blows right by, and then I'm oh, I didn't do all the things I wanted to do. And it's no, just live in the moment. Enjoy yourself, enjoy each month as they come. Not everything has to be in preparation for Halloween. And I feel immensely sad that I can't, my brain is so excited about Halloween season and spooky season that it kind of forgets about August and September. I do love November though. November sort of is like when my brain wants to take a break and my body just naturally falls into the winter cycle, like it wants to go to sleep, wants to take a nap more often, wants to rest, hibernate. So November is always a lovely time. You would think it would be a lovely time because your body's just like winding down for this season. But, you know, that's when all the holiday stuff starts happening. And then suddenly you have to make plans to see your family for Thanksgiving, see all your friends for Friendsgiving, do all your Christmas shopping, early shopping. Never shop during Christmas season in December because things will most likely sell out, / it will be crazy. I'm trying to take it easy this year though, like towards the end of the season. I want to do more hibernating art. I'll definitely still be streaming though, so I will be doing art. Alright, I'm not liking this like hugely yellow area. It fleshes out that window, which is really nice, but it's still like too yellow, so I'm just gonna add like a nice little grayed out section for all of it. Yeah, as soon as I'm done with my live stream, off to work I go, back to my iPad, designing all my stuff. Just been like, but I've gotten so much stuff done, like oh my god, I feel like I crammed in these last couple days more like measurable work than I've done in the last month. I wish I had this realization sooner, because all of June was my rest month, but I still could have been working on like my portfolio and stuff. So I feel like a lot of this would have been offloaded if I was aware in June to do it. Alright, this is the last of me washing out. Well, that's a lie actually. I kind of want to blur out some of the extra details. Okay, let's see. Let's go with this sort of mossy green. Alright. Oh, hey Eric! I'll see you later. Alright. Getting close to finishing up the doggo. Doggo by the window. Alright. I'm just thinking of all this, like multitasking. I'm here in the moment, but I'm also thinking about all the stuff I need to do once the live stream's over. Alright, I think it is time to stop with the watercolor and get into the details. The water is just sort of like kind of a mess right now, but I don't know, water's tricky for me, so I might try and make that look a little nicer later, but my focus is on the greenery, the wall, and the building, and absolutely the dog. Okay, so I think this area is dry now. Oop, that's not showing up. Makes me wonder if I use this one, will it show up? It's real spotty. A lot of greens. Sorry, that's a lot of like olive green. I've also started doing this thing where, like when I work, I usually, sometimes, most of the time, I would have a podcast, or I'd have a live stream. I would have something playing. I would have something playing in the background quite a lot of the time. Like, I think it's been sort of my white noise. A lot of the times it's in the past. A lot of the times it was Among Us streams. I would watch a ton of Among Us. And I would watch it so often that they became very predictable. Like, I think that's why I was watching it, because it was so, like, I could predict who the imposter was, things like that. So it's just like my brain could sort of focus on other things easier. But I've started to just not listen to anything at all. For a time it was nature sounds, like this like soundtrack, the music that's playing right now, like the background noise playing right now is like, I would play that when I was working. But recently, like, I would just literally just wake up, have the ideas from the night before, and I would just work in silence. I think it does something to the brain. I started doing that because when we went up to Massachusetts for this event this past weekend, I was with my friend and we were just chatting. Like, I didn't have headphones on. Not once did I ever turn on music or put on headphones. It was very much in the moment. I'm seeing a little bit of these like pink flowers in the corner that I hadn't noticed before, so I'm just gonna add a touch of those. Yeah, so I started, like, you know, this past weekend, just spending time with my friend in the moment. We didn't really put on headphones or ignore each other to do our own thing. I did a lot of embroidery, actually. I brought my embroidery projects and did a lot of embroidery this weekend and caught up on some embroidery work that I've been neglectful of. So yeah, I did quite a lot of that. Sorry, I'm talking about the artwork. Just sort of guessing which colors work best. But maybe that's what it needs. It needs like a variety of greens just like washing through. As we're doing that, I'm going to sort of outline sort of outline the facade here. This is fun. Sorry. I think a lot of the times when people say, I want to find out my style, that's like it's like a hot topic. A lot of artists who do a lot of business advice I see there's whole books written about it, like how to find your style or like how to find your niche. And for me, I feel like a lot of the time it's finding your style is like the advice is like, oh, like this, what is your like subject matter, like what is that you enjoy drawing. And the truth is, I don't like being constrained in like what I can draw. Some days I like to draw figures, some days I like to draw patterns, some days I like to draw still life, some days I like to draw landscape. So it just kind of varies. So I feel like that's, for me, wasn't the right advice. The right advice for me in finding my style was, what mediums do you like using? I felt like my style was very contingent upon, and when I say style, even I like don't really believe in a personal style, because your style will keep changing as you evolve and adapt and use different things and become exposed to different mediums and different interests. So for me, it's less to do with like what I'm interested in and more like what mediums work best for me. And I recently embraced traditional art, and I think for me, this combination of really thick, rich, varying line weight color pencil mixed with like either watercolor or either this sort of pastel-y watercolor effect in the background is like what I've embraced. Like it's totally what I've gravitated towards as an artist. Because it can be tricky. You can spend like a really long time figuring out, oh, what do I like, what do I do, like how do I define myself, and I feel like that took me a long time too, and it's not fun when you're sort of second guessing like, oh, is this right for me, am I just wasting time? You're not wasting time. You are investigating different avenues that your creativity can manifest. So, and you don't know that until you've like done it, you know? Like I feel like a lot of people just feel like they need to inherently know and they need to get there as soon as possible. And that used to be me too. That used to be me, where I'm like, oh, I can't waste time experimenting. No, like part of like figuring these things out, experimenting, is sort of the deal. And I can only say that now in retrospect because I've tried to do it the other way and I was never happy because it wasn't, I just set these like expectations that were just unmanageable. And nowadays I feel a lot more contentment in my work. I do these live streams this way now because I found that playing around is so important. Like just messing around, like not even, this is not homework, this is not an assignment. It's literally just like, hey, let's like just draw this random thing together. And that removal of a lot of inhibition is really healthy when you're approaching creative work. And where I work at my part-time job as well, like we do a lot of workshops, and a lot of the times it's the same, it's like it's almost guaranteed to be heard by a student at every workshop is like, oh, this is like no good, like this looks like crap, or like this doesn't look great. Like it's like, oh, it's much harder than I expected. It's like, no kidding. You're learning this for the first time. There's such a pressure on ourselves to excel at something that we barely even exposed ourselves to or done any practice in. And I totally get it too, because when I make stuff where I'm told to like make samples for class or something, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make it look great to make it look very like, I don't know, just like spend a lot of time working on this idea. And it's not gonna look phenomenal because you're spending literally like one day on it. You're spending a single day making a sample, doing a little art piece, while also, you know, doing your actual job on other stuff. So yeah, it's nice to like just sort of play around. It's nice to just say, hey, like this is just, I'm doing this for fun. And I feel like we forget that fun, like when you're a kid, like you don't think about all this stuff. Like when I was a kid and I wanted to draw something, I just drew it. Like I just took a sketchbook and I not even a sketchbook, sometimes I just grab a random pencil or medium and just drew on whatever surface. That's why kids draw on the walls and stuff. But as an adult, I wish we could just draw on the walls whenever we could. I wish we could just grab our pencils, grab our crayons, grab our markers, and just draw on whatever stuff we found as a kid, like when we were kids. I do love like the ivy part. The ivy part is my favorite. Something very visually satisfying about seeing it like this. Yeah, so for me the big question is always, you know, what medium do I like working in? I like working in paints now. I used to be real intimidated by watercolor. I used to hate it, actually. I used to tell myself like, oh, like, I don't think I'll ever get watercolor, or try watercolor. And I remember in high school, I was like doing oil, and you know, like I said, experimenting is part of it. Experimenting is important, but I can't believe I tried to do oil, because oil is not for me. Oil is definitely like not the medium for me now. Who knows? That might change. I might do oil again in the future, but when I was a 16, 17-year-old kid trying oils, yeah, that was not for me. I need a medium that just sort of sets me on the path. Like, gets on paper, I do it, it dries, it's finalized. There's no room for me to second guess. There's no room for me to try and perfect things. That's the kind of medium I like. I also like mediums that have a lot of textural play to it, so that's why I like this combination of color pencil with watercolor / pastels. Pastels is something I really want to play with more. I'm just worried about the high maintenance-y nature of it, because you need to protect your papers afterwards. They need to have so that the pastels don't like rub off and things like that. So just the logistics of it intimidate me, but I love how professional artists use pastels. I love how pastels look, so that might be something I'd like to try someday. I also recently found out that I actually really enjoy, to a degree, collaging. Sort of the paper arts has been on my periphery. Paper cutting was something I was fascinated in. I was really into the idea of like paper puppets as well. And cutting out papers is really exciting and fun to me, but it was always on my periphery. But nowadays I've started doing a bit more, not collaging on its own, but collaging as a mixed media form. So I like seeing other people do collage work where they mix in collaged bits with printmaking or with painting, and it looks really gorgeous, like the way textures play out. So I've been actually experimenting with collaging more. And I didn't think I would be into collaging. I'm someone who doesn't really junk journal. Like, junk journal has taken over quite a lot of crafty activities lately, and I think people do really beautiful work in junk journal. It never like really captured me. But I think my alternative way of getting into paper crafts is to do more collaging. Alright, I'm going to try a different green for this tree in the background because it's further away and sort of faded out. So let's see. I'm just doing a little bit of a textural play in the background. I'm leaving this area white and unfinished because it's supposed to represent that building in the background in the top right corner, but I don't really want to do the windows on that, so it's just going to stay white up there. It just looks like it's a big sunlight is just blowing it out in that corner. As this gets exposed to sunlight, I want the colors to be a bit more faded and not such an intense green. Kind of just feels like I'm doing cursive over and over. This is fun. I actually really love doing landscapes this way. This is my way of doing landscapes, is to do a lot of curly bits, add a perm to nature. That's my style. This is just my form of ivy is nature's perm for me. Okay, I'm just gonna do a little bit more of the highlighting of architecture. I might play around with the wall even, but I kind of want to leave like this bottom half sort of unfinished. It actually looks kind of weirdly pulls the image together to have all this detail up here and then sort of like everything sort of washed out below. But maybe not. Maybe I'll alter it. But okay. Actually, the windows themselves, maybe I'll do... do I have like a really dark... No, I want to stick to warm tones. Maybe I'll just use this instead of a bluish tint. Has anyone done anything creative lately that you're excited about? There's a bunch of museums happening, museum exhibits happening in New York City that I'm excited to go see. I just need the time after this initial craziness to be over to actually make time to go. But there's a lot of fun exhibits happening, and sorry, 1 second. I'm just choosing. Do I want to do black? I don't love using... Oh wait, no, this is a really dark brown. Let's do that. I don't love using pure black for shadows and things. I like to maintain some complications in color. Okay, alright, let's now do the dog, the most important part. I'm steepling my fingers as I think about the colors I can use for this dog. Let's have a hint of this red. Alright, this doggo has sort of, he's sleeping. Just gonna outline him a little bit. And then I'm gonna do his little ears. And then I'm just gonna play around with shading a little bit. You can kind of see his form now manifesting. His pillow has gone missing, and that's okay. Just pretend that this is his pillow. Alright, now for the finer details of his face, he's got the little nose here. And then his eyes are closed. And that's it! We've got a dog face. Sleeping in the window. Such a cutie. That would totally be where I would sleep if I were a dog. Just gonna add some texture to his body, his little fuzzy body. I don't like how light that is. Alright, you guys can see the dog. Can you see the dog here? I love the little dog. I wonder if I change the lighting a little bit, you guys can see the different color tones. There we go. That looks a little different. Alright, we're starting to wind down for the stream. Just gonna add a couple of extra bric-a-brac, little bric-a-brac areas. I actually think I'm gonna add that little pipe section. Here. But yeah, I'm excited. Next week, I mean, I might be stressed out of my mind when I do my live stream. I'm actually really excited on the progress I've made for my portfolio work and the work I'm doing for my markets. You guys, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm very, very slowly sharing the things that I'm doing on there. But it's an exciting time of growth. Sort of expedited through necessity, but I'm making headway and I'm making progress, which is exciting. I know this is all just like up in the air until I actually share it online or share the final things I've been working on. Okay, I'm just adding these lines, represent the brick. They're sort of big chunky lines. Nothing as fine as what we see on the reference picture. Okay. Just throwing in some random lines here and there. Make it look like it's brick. Okay, yeah, if anyone does this landscape study, would love to see it. Would love to see everyone's artwork. This one was fun. I feel like last week was fun too, but I think I put a little pressure on myself to make it look a certain way, and that was hard. Portraiture work is hard. Much respect to people who do it regularly. Alright. And then this bottom water area, just sort of very generally colored out. I think that'll be my final thing, is just coloring out the rest of the waterway here. Okay. Sorry if you can't see on the camera. Okay. Alright. I think I've got the bulk of what I wanted this landscape to be on paper. And I think that's it, you guys. This is the final piece. Everything from the water to the wall to the window to the dog to the greenery. Yay! Didn't even bother drawing like the human furniture, like the umbrella and the chairs and stuff. Like, did not even bother doing any of that. But yeah, I did the fun part, which is basically the dog. But yeah, that's my version of this landscape study. Well, I hope the rest of you had a chance to work on this. If you're watching on the VOD, I hope you have a chance of doing this on your own time as well. I would love to see your final results. And yeah, next week I think we have it's our interpretation of a poem. So we're gonna read a poem and draw the poem together. So that will be our project for next Wednesday's Art After Light. And then yeah, that's it for today. We did our landscape study. We'll be doing a bunch of additional fun, because next week is our last stream of July. The August calendar will be going up the first week of August, so you guys get to see what topics are coming up in August. And if you're interested in any of them, then yeah, I would love to see you tune in for those streams. But yeah, thanks you guys. Thanks for joining me for today's Art After Light and doing the landscape study with me. And I'll see you next Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram, join the Discord, follow me on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these streams. But yeah, thanks you guys. I'll see you next week.